Hello and welcome to another test try and fly scenario. This is the second time I have to do this video because in the first version I managed to create a video that had sounds only for the first 5 minutes, and then something must have happened and neither my microphone nor the sim sounds have been recorded hands-on. I didn't realize, obviously, because I'm concentrating on other things, so I produced Stummfilm, as we say in German. Film without sounds. Yeah, which is not very useful. So, I have to invest more of my precious time to create it again, but I thought it's worth it, so I'm doing it. The other thing I did in the meantime, because it took 2 days before I had time to check the video and then realize that it is crap, I updated to the beta version of X-Plane. Yes, I usually say I don't do this, but so many people have now given me so much feedback on how good 12.06 beta something is that I actually installed it. And I have to say, it looks like some of the issues, especially with performance and with the flickering. Well, the flickering, no, it's not really gone. But I may be lying to myself here, but I have the feeling that it got a little bit better. But at the moment, this beta version, I think this is now beta 5 or something, because I got an update last night. Yeah, see this? Ah, here, now it works. It's a very strange thing. There are now huge delays. It took ages for the simulator to start up, although I have almost nothing in the custom scenery folder, and it says reading scenery files. I'm not sure what it is reading here. Yeah. Still, anyway, let's go to why I actually created this video. And we're talking about the AD Simulations CRJ. And some time ago, I had tested, and I think sometime is end 21. So actually quite some time ago, I tested the first release of a series now of aircraft, the CRJs. Bombardier, I think, produces them, but I may be wrong. The CRJ-900 was the first one, a good while ago. Then they issued a CRJ-900, which was kind of a parallel track over some time. And then finally, I'm not sure if it was this year or kind of end of last year, they also created the CRJ-1000. And therefore, we now have theoretically the whole CRJ family, apart from the 200, because, I mean, there had been an old version for X-Plane, but you can forget that one. So at the moment, we have the 700, 900, and 1000. I got the 700 at the time, and the 900 I bought in a sale recently. Now, the CRJ-900, I made this video, and I think, if I remember correctly, my impression was, I called it banana software, because when it came out, it's a typical thing. It matures on the customer PCs, especially the FMC, it was more or less standard, so we seem to get this a lot in recent years now. Also in MSF, is that developers produce something, it's half finished, still has some way to go, but there's sort of enough that you can, well, supposedly fly it, and then they continue working on it, obviously to collect funds and to fund the development, which is okay. Wouldn't there be always the risk for us that we end up paying And I mean, these here are not cheap. These cost, unless you get a reduction of some form, over $50 or 50 euros. So they are expensive, and therefore there's a certain expectation. Although we have seen some kind of inflation here, add-ons become more expensive, obviously due to the situation. Yep, I can see why costs are rising, especially in the last 2 years. But you not necessarily always get better value for the money. All right. Anyway, modeling of these add-ons quite good. And now let me check again. I actually turned off the sound of the simulator because it is very loud. And I can't, so I just have to remember to turn it on again. But that was now planned. Yeah, so nice modeling. Also on the CRJ-900. I don't have the 1000. I don't need 3 of them, especially not for that price. So I think 2 of them are sufficient. The CRJ-900 is probably the most sold one also in the real world, I guess. At least that's what I read somewhere. Because I think it's the best compromise between cost, size, and passenger numbers. The 1000 is, yeah, like really a stretched version, and the 700 is nice, better probably than the 200. The 200 is very small. There aren't really many passengers that you can put on. So the CRJ-900, for example, are used by an airline that unfortunately isn't anymore, Adria, in Slovenia, a Slovenian carrier. And they fly from Ljubljana to Egypt, for example, Sharm el-Sheikh and Hurghada. So it's quite capable of doing this with not so much passengers, because obviously these are small aircraft compared to an Airbus, for example. Right, then let's jump into the cockpit. Here we go. I'm not sure what I said about the, let me see the performance. Oh, very bad performance. That must be, in my previous video, the performance was actually quite good, but it seems that the update last night destroyed the pretty good performance that I had. Let's see what I have to do to get this back into some normal. Let's bring back the world object density. It's all default scenery. I don't use any. That's the problem with betas. And I shouldn't have done it now. I regret it again. It looked pretty good. So Beta 4 was actually quite a surprise. And it fixed things with the clouds and the sky colors. I'm not sure if they did something on the sky colors, but everything looked better. I really had also that feeling. And the performance was pretty good. And it was actually one of the things about 1206. But for some reason, in this last update that happened last night, I shouldn't have probably installed that one, because it got worse now. So they introduced, it looks like they introduced more problems. Yeah, that's the thing with betas. And look how long it takes to the scenery to load. I'm going to pause this now so that you don't have to wait. There's definitely a problem with X-Plane. Even starting it new didn't help. It took flippin' ages to get everything loaded. Anyway, we'll try now to get this video done, even with a relatively bad performance. And I'm I have to live with my decision now until the next update comes and hopefully fixes it, whatever it is. So what I said before, also I think for the CRJ-900, the modeling is okay, but personally, and now that's personal taste, they kind of made this very smudgy and lots of and I don't know, for me this doesn't work, because this looks really dirty, this cockpit, and dark anyway, but that's partially also an explained problem, yeah, with making things dark. So there are cockpits where I jump in and I say, wow, nice, like it. And then there are cockpits like this here where I come in and say, why does this look so strange? Yeah, so fuzzy, and it's things like that. The closer you get, you realize how low resolution the textures are. They are relatively low resolution. Yeah, and you can see this here because this gets fuzzy, and I have full settings, right? It's a bit of a pity, because it makes this cockpit, in my personal opinion, again, look not as good as it could. And for me, it lacks the wow effect where I say, wow, I like this. Okay. But it is a pretty accurate, it looks like a pretty accurate representation. There is an EFB. There's also documentation. And I hope that due to the fact that I have done now already 2 flights with this add-on, no, 3 flights actually. 2 of these flights were a complete failure. And up to now, I'm not sure what I did wrong, because I couldn't steer and I couldn't use the autopilot. I then got myself a checklist file. There is documentation, but it is a weird documentation. You get 2 versions of checklists and 2 versions of manuals. One set is for the whole series of all 3 CRJs, and the other one is for the 900. And they do differ, also in age, I think. So I'm a bit confused which of the 2 should I use and which are the most accurate. And when I had this problem with the autopilot, I tried to figure out what did I not do or do wrong to cause this behavior. Well, I'm still not sure, but then in my video that unfortunately was without sound, I actually managed to use this checklist that comes with the aircraft, and I went through this line by line, and that seemed, whatever it was that I did wrong, seemed to make it right, although I'm not aware of what it is that I actually did not do. I thought that I did similar things, but you know how things are. Anyway, I successfully finished the flight and was quite glad, because I thought another one for the bin. Yeah, because I lost patience with add-ons that do not work. As I say, I have so little time for the hobby, and by the way, sorry that I'm not producing that much recently, and it will continue like this. It's just so many other things in normal life that stop me from doing things. It's already difficult for me to do live streams at the weekend. They have become quite ad hoc, because I simply don't have the time to prepare hours and hours before streams. It's just simply not possible for me anymore. So every video that I'm doing, I do in the little time that I have, and failing to get the video out properly is quite hard for me, because more time spent for nothing. and not for content that is worth looking at. Anyway, let's go through this here. So that's the EFB. What you have is, for example, opening doors, and I'm now turning on, hopefully, the sound. When you're in the cockpit, you hear nothing, yeah? But when I go out, I can hear things. That's how I test if I haven't messed up my sound settings again. So we're okay, and I also check now the monitor on OBS to make sure that, yeah, 25 frames, that's not good. That wouldn't be anything we can use for... Oh, I have an idea what might have caused this stark drop, because there is still this issue with the lights at night. And I had a fix that I actually took away when I installed the beta. So maybe those are related, who knows. So you can open and close the doors here. You can go to a cold and dark mode on the ready to taxi. Now, when you click these, especially the ready to taxi mode, you will actually see sort of a progressing fill here. When it's completely full, the box, then it's done. And here you can activate or deactivate the external power, which I have. And when you have external power, what you can do is, oh yeah, and the click spots. It took me ages because they do it differently again. Why not? I mean, why do things like others do it when you can make it different and have people wonder why the heck is this friggin' switch not working? Yeah, because you have to go down here and to turn it on. And obviously you can't just click and it toggles. You have to go here to turn it off again. Okay, fair enough. I mean, for switches like this, I can sort of see this, yeah. But so if you have 3 positions, which by the way they don't use, or oh no, hang on, that's not 3 positions, that's 2. But for something that is basically a toggle switch, yeah, and it's sometimes different. So for example, here this switch, when you click on the center, nothing happens. And here, you know, it's not consistent. So at the beginning, you keep searching for the click spots. But once you realize why your switch isn't moving, then it's okay, because then you know you just have to go further down or further up, or, you know, eventually you find the click spot. So let's activate the external AC power that we have connected, and and maybe also turn on the nav lights, and then we can continue here on the EFB. Then here you can set your load, in this case passenger load. I think that was supposed to be cargo. At the moment I'm not sure why this isn't. Maybe we have to open that one. Nope. Well, I opened the cargo door. It's the cargo hold here in the back. I'm a bit surprised now. Was this not on? Anyway, you can set the fuel, which is currently full blast, and you basically can set the fuel value, but I think you can also use, oops, nope, that's not what I wanted to do. Weight and balance, let's see, total payload weight and total internal fuel weight. So let's set something here like, yeah, everything is set here, okay, total internal fuel weight. Let's put it on half a tank. Yeah, so you can actually do this. It's really odd. And so basically, again, we have some, I'm typing numbers here, trying to get This is completely odd. Not sure what this is supposed to be. See if I can use the arrow keys. No. Let's do 15 passengers. Okay, so guys, why? Why are you doing it like this? Can you? Okay, you can move it. Okay, again, you have to find the trick. Not the most intuitive, but it does work, yeah. Okay, so for some reason cargo weight can't be set. And here you can, probably with the same trick, you can set the tanks, but you could probably also enter like 9,000 pounds and then you get 8,999. Okay, that's okay. It looks like the rounding issues that we have in X-Plane. So when you enter 9,000, you enter 9,000, not 8,999, but it's probably in the simulator, it's probably put as 8,999.9 or something. Yeah. Right, let's go to the settings. So you can choose to use tinted glass, which then changes, I guess, some properties of the cockpit glass, internal, external glasses, internal glasses. I'm not sure why we're differentiating. Cockpit displays, no reflections, medium reflections, high reflections. You know me, reflections, no way, Jose. Here you can set the sound. I have everything on full at the moment. And you can change the flight directive to a single queue. At the moment, I don't think we can see it. Flight director is also something weird and wonderful. User's view, captain, first officer, or observer. It actually changes your standard view. I leave captain. Then there's an axis switch, and there was supposed to be in the documentation, they call about a honeycomb option here, but in this version of the aircraft, this doesn't show up. So it's one of these little inconsistencies which confirm my initial feeling about this class of aircraft. It's kind of, so there are areas that look nice and that seem to be quite well done, and then there are other areas where you wonder, it looks like time was of the essence, so they kind of skipped certain aspects and will correct them probably eventually with the upcoming versions. The I button that's actually quite nice, so it calculates current V speeds, probably based on the weight. By the way, here you can switch to kilograms. So we have currently 4 tons on board, which is more than enough to Munich, and 57 passengers, and the weights, the total weight. I'm lacking the zero fuel weight, but then again, I suppose I don't need it. And you can, by pressing here, as far as I understand, it takes away the job from you to dial in your V speeds into the PFD. There was also a way to get rid of these here. Oh yeah, it's the screw. If you can screw up your yoke. Now, I mean, you press the screw and those disappear. It took me ages to find that. Eventually in the documentation I found it. But, you know, let's say in 80% or 70% of all aircraft where you can hide the yoke, you either press down here or you press on the yoke itself, or at least somewhere near the yoke. This is just not intuitive. It would have never occurred to me that you have to press on the screw, but it's documented. So if you read the documentation, and I have now, then you'll find it. So I can only recommend that you read the documentation, every single page of it. At least you can't complain then. everything that is not working after you read the documentation must be something that either you haven't understood or is a bug or is not implemented yet. Yeah, one of the things with the documentation is they still show the FMC as it used to be at the beginning, more or less standard FMC. This page is nowhere documented, and by the way, most of the documentation is simply screenshots, okay, with pages over pages with huge screenshots and not much explanation. Yeah, limited value, such a documentation, but at least we have documentation. I mean, there are some add-ons you don't even get that. Right, now I will go through the checklist again and just to make sure that we are really doing the right thing. Let me quickly go to here. I'm actually now going to activate the golden dark mode. And I can still hear a clacker noise, which I guess when you're cold and dark, you should probably not hear. But what do I know? Right, okay. So this is now the checklist I am, hang on. So I always need to switch to, so now you can see it. So this is a checklist I'm working on. I will go through this. So nose wheel steering switch off. Nose wheel steering is here, and you make sure that it is off. By the way, why does it work here? Why didn't you do it up there? You know, it's inconsistencies. There's no clear way of dealing with switches, and that's an unfortunate. It's a small thing. It's not important. It doesn't stop you from using the aircraft, but it wastes time for you to find out. And probably, like I did, I said, "Ah, shit, this thing isn't working. I can't turn even the battery on. How am I supposed to do a flight if I can't get the battery turned on? What's wrong now?" I checked the scripts, I checked the versions, I actually reinstalled the aircraft. Because I was really getting... And why? Because the click spot was somewhere where I wouldn't think of looking for it, you know, down here. Yeah. Do I sound a little bit aggravated? I'm not really. I actually quite like these aircraft, just to let you know. But it's probably a form of the day, the way I do these try and flies. Okay, so nose wheel steering is off. Hydraulic pumps, they're here, they're off. Now that's something that is difficult for developers to do if you have these kind of three-state switches, and depends very much on your viewing angle. Yeah, if let's see if I can. I mean, like this, obviously it is easier to see that they are all in the off position, middle position. Yeah, and you can switch them. So all the hydraulic pumps 1, 3A, 3B, and 2 are in the off position. Probes. So the probes are on this side, there are switches, here they are, and again, it's a bit difficult to see. Let me do this again. And yeah, I suppose that the labeling would suggest that they are in the middle, that off is in the middle position. But then again, when I look at all these switches, it just says up is off, down is on. That's, by the way, the philosophy on this aircraft. But at the beginning, it threw me off again because I was wondering, so why is it? Yeah, it is actually consistent. And I suppose this is like it in the real aircraft, so nothing to complain about. Just when I saw this, it was kind of a bit confused. But yeah, off is always up in this aircraft and on is down. Many aircraft have it in this, and then there are other aircraft where it's the other way around. That means on is down, up, and off is down. But that depends on the aircraft that you're flying in. So probes are off, landing gear lever down, flight spoiler lever up. Always also check. Yeah. Radars off. Yeah, the radars, they were, I think, here. And the switches are coded. Well, theoretically, practically, they don't move. So I'm not sure if they're planning to have the radar coded at the moment. This is fake that does as if it's not fake. Fake. At least that's the way it looks. I guess potentially maybe they will put something in, some logic behind those buttons. At the moment, whatever it is, either doesn't work or is not supposed to work. Flight ADG manual deploy stowed. Yeah, it's stowed. Emergency flap normal. Oh God, where was the emergency flap? I don't think it was up here. I think it's... Is it somewhere here? Let me see. Spoilers. Emergency flap normal. Probably somewhere here. Anti-skid, overheat, horn, spoilers. Mach trim, normal. Cargo fire extinguisher, I suppose that's called. Well, I can't find it. And I think I couldn't find it in my first flight either. It is probably somewhere well hidden, but I'm not an expert of these aircraft, so. And I don't think it's vital for our flight to succeed. Battery master. Yeah, we've turned it. Well, actually, we turned it off again. So let's turn that on. APU, AC electrics as required or established. So what we could do is at the moment just use the available AC power. And then eventually, oh yeah, and that's what I realized is when you do the cold and dark and then turn on the power, you have this strong sound, which I thought I didn't have when the airplane loaded, but I could be wrong. Yeah. So this will go away as soon as we revive the airplane a bit more. Okay, then comes the HRS, both Mac. Oh yeah, the HRS switches. Did we have those ones? EHRS switch. That's basically the IRS in different. Oh yeah, I think, is it the compass? No. Oh, and there's a repetitive darp sound also, which starts after you kind of fire up the aircraft from the cold and dark mode. Yeah, I think I couldn't find that one either, and I'm not sure how accurate that checklist is compared to the aircraft. Audio warning panel checked. Yeah. Electrical power panel checked. That's up here. So we have all the generators in the auto position, and by the way, dark is usually good. So if there are lights, then it's something that is not as it should be by default. The fire test complete. I can't remember. That we do. Do we have the fire test? Hang on, it's I think here somewhere. Anti-skid, ground proximity, mech, Engines. Yeah. Down here, I think the fire test wasn't coded, but here's the ADG, by the way, which is not coded. Now I remember. So you can't do anything also with the EMER flap. There's the EMER emergency flap thing, and it's dead. So there's nothing you can do with it. Yeah, it's still it's not a study level aircraft, I can tell you that. It's a nice representation of that type of aircraft, but it's not study level or anything. It's more a default aircraft than it is something very advanced. So lights checked, yeah, we have a fuel panel checked, the fuel panel. So we have those pumps. Unfortunately, the checklist doesn't really explain what checked means. Like, is it okay that we, well, in-op basically means it's not working, but you can turn them on. Is that what it should be like? I have not enough information to know that. For good measures, I just turn them on. Bleed air panel checked. The bleed air panel is here, so you can check where you do cross bleed. If you want to do cross bleed, you can close the valves. Whether or not they close with this here, I can't tell you. Here's the isolation valve, which is usually open at the beginning, and here you can select a source of bleed air, I suppose, if we are going to start the APU, which we're going to do now. Then you would probably select APU. So in order to start the APU, you press this button, and I thought that should there not be a light or something indicating? Maybe not. So what you need to do is you need to check if you can see the APU synopsis here, and it says door open. Only when it says door open are you actually ready to start the APU. Then you press this button and you get start. And interestingly, we already get air from the APU, although it hasn't started yet. Well, it's just in the process. So an abbreviated cycle. Yeah, it looks like the RPM is 100%. 100% RPM. Okay. And the APU is available. So the generator has automatically switched, and we are now getting air. What happens if I change this? Nothing that I can hear, so there's no difference. All right. Then hydraulic panel checked. Yeah, well, at the moment they're all off. Not sure. The ELT switch, yeah, it's because it's so dark, and my first view was a bit like that. So I just simply couldn't find it. I was looking like mad for this thing. Here it is, and the ELT is to be not on. For some reason, the Cold and Dark puts it to on. It's in the arm reset. It should be. We should also put no smoking into auto, and theoretically also the passenger signs into auto while we're at it. Then the cabin pressure panel. The cabin pressure panel. So where is that? I guess when you're flying more often, then you'll find these things immediately, but I'm testing so many aircraft, I simply can't remember everything. So here's air conditioning, passenger, cabin press panel. They bring that in one. Ah, here, no, that's part of the science. I don't know. Air conditioning panel, ice detector test. The ice detector test. Most tests, I think, are not working. So, ice detector test, where is it? How do you do that? Ice detector test. Is it maybe on the ice panel? Detector test. Ah, it says air conditioning panel, and under it it says, as it's indented, it says ice detector test. So it's wrong, obviously. It's not in the air conditioning, it's in the anti-ice panel. So the checklist isn't great either. Standby compass checked. Yeah. Side control panels checked. Whatever that means. Yeah, so I'm checking them. Can't do anything on the oxygen. I guess we're talking these here. So they're all dead. R8 test, Cat 3. I have no idea what that is. CVR test, radar or something test. But I guess that's this here, but dead. CVR test. Oh, the cockpit voice recorder. Where would that be? But I'm pretty sure it's not active because I can't remember being able to turn it on my first flight. CVR, CVR, CVR. Nah, I don't care. Anti-skid test. Oh yeah, anti-skid. Where was anti-skid? I just saw that. It's in the middle center. Yeah. So anti-skid, I suppose, would then be an arm. Here's an overheat test. Nothing happens. Nothing happens here. So the test, as I say, there's nothing that indicates that there's a test ongoing. Thrust lever quadrant checked. Yeah, nice. So we've checked it. Yeah, basically we are in the fuel off position. Flaps are up. These here are down position. And the thrust reversers are off. And the spoiler, I guess, is in the auto position, yeah. Then a TCAS test that I couldn't find the last time, which is probably somewhere here. Mach trim, turn it on. Or maybe it's somewhere in here. Also, this thing, I had some issues here with it isn't always clear what I have to press. So here I can change the transponder code, and theoretically you can switch, but I don't know. I'm probably stupid, but I simply wasn't able to get this to switch. It's actually in TARA mode. What you can do though is you can go to the radio page, and here you can change at least the ATC mode. So at the moment we are on standby, but that thing, unless I'm just too stupid to use it, what more can I do than press the buttons? But it's obviously not cool. Now again, I'm just showing you the reality of things, okay? And I'm not saying that this is bad. I can see it is work in progress, and yes, not everything is implemented, although CRJ-900 is out now for over a year, much over a year. The CRJ-900 followed probably sometimes after. And a lot is working, but again, a lot of things are just fake, and just the way it is. So I'm showing you the aircraft as it is, going through the checklist as good as I can. Lower pedestal checked. Again, stall test. Nope, that doesn't work. Yeah, I remember that. At least I couldn't get any test to work. So even if I found the buttons, nothing happened. Parking brake is on. It's down here. We are on the before start checklist. So maybe what we should do is program our flight plan. So most of these here you cannot use. So key not active is a common feature in this FMC. So let's go to index fix flight plan. Yeah, let's go to flight plan. This is very much standard still under the hood. EDDS. So anything that works with standard FMC will work here as well. Alternate, it puts in EDDM without asking. See, can I actually change this? No. Yeah, another fake feature. Originating runway is 07. It's simply you can't enter it, although it looks like you should. Not possible. Flight number. Nope. So let's go to the departure arrival. What? Wait. Huh? Didn't do that the last time. Oh. Maybe I have to execute it. Okay, let's try that again. Okay. Runway 07, APTA for hotel. I just see a big spider crawling up my microphone cable. Hang on. I got the eviction order. I placed it on the balcony again. So, APTA for hotel, runway 07. Then we do the usual thing. See ILS 08 left and no star vectors is correct. So let's go to the legs page. That looks pretty much like the standard here. So where's next page? Next here. Magat, fill it in, execute it again, and we have a flight plan. Okay. Now let's change the format of the screen. So this is the plan mode, and then you can change the range. And it looks pretty good. So this is, I think, the normal navigation page. Yeah, so there are these three modes. Oh yeah, and the TCAS mode. So, oh no, hang on, this is, what is this then? Oh no, this is the normal. Yeah, not very clear, but yeah, this is the normal display. This is the plan mode. No, it's not. This is the plan mode. This is the TCAS mode, TCAS display. And that would be the normal. Okay. Right, and you can see that the performance is bad, but that's not the aircraft. On 12.05, when I did the video, performance was actually pretty good. So this is now the new version, the beta version of X-Plane, which currently really messes up the performance big time. So we've got the route in. There isn't that much more theoretically that you can do. I mean, you can try out the other pages. So there's the radio page. and you could dial in our ILS for Stuttgart and for Munich. It's actually the same. It's supposed to be an auto. I haven't actually tried that one yet, but it says in-op. Alright then. ADF frequencies. Here you can enter your transponder code, and then you can use this button to switch the mode. And on the second page you have lots of in-ops. So it's standard with a kind of veneer layer on top of it. Okay, parking brake is on. Fuel quantity. Oh yeah, hang on, I wanted to check. No, this is standard. Okay, so this is all pretty much standard. You can actually change the target speed to 250. You do not have auto throttle in this aircraft, so you need to manage your speed yourself. And in my last flight I almost blew it. You can enter the flight level here. And again, you could also change this. In theory, it would then give you the flight director and the modes, the vertical modes would take this into consideration. I'm guessing here. Yeah. There's no secondary flight plan. There's the standard hold page. This is really standard stuff. And yeah, there's some data things. Map display. Here you can actually change, it seems, left display menu. Range, alt cell, learn post, LRN position, alternate flight plan. I'm not sure what this is supposed to do, because I don't see any change, but maybe I'm misinterpreting what. Oh yeah, by the way, here's the fake cockpit voice recorder. Now I found it again. Parking brake on, fuel quantity required on board. Yeah, altimeters, they are set 1013. Oh, by the way, you need to change that here. So let's switch to HPA, and it's, yeah, well, I suppose it's best to put in 2992. And yeah, this is, it's probably right, yeah. Master caution off. Transponder on. Why would we do that at the stand? Okay. No, I wouldn't do that now. We'll do that when we are actually moving. And then comes the engine start, and the engine start hasn't really been explained a lot, but it's not that difficult. Basically, what you do is you have here the buttons, left and right, engine start, and if you want to interrupt the start sequence, then you use the stop button. And once you press the start, you would also open the fuel. Now, I think I saw in the documentation that you press the start button and then from a certain N2 or so you open the fuel. But I also saw it being done the other way, because I've been looking at some videos. That means you first open this one here and then you press the start button. Which of the two is the correct one? Yeah, that doesn't really matter. So, but we can see now, yeah, there is a delay. You unlatch this here and then you move this into the initial position and see that the latch is coming down again. And then the engine is like almost instantaneously running. I would say this is too short, but I may be wrong. Again, I'm no expert, but it looks a bit fast for a jet engine. So I press this button. Yeah, it takes a wee moment, and then I unlatch, move this forward, and the engine is up and running. Really fast, isn't it? Now we still have a lot of these amber and red stuff, so our door is still open. Now that can be changed. You go to the doors page. Ah! Yeah, it takes time. Okay. Door is closed, so the red passenger door, I'm guessing it probably needs to be put into automatic or so, I don't know. Not sure why this stays on amber. Okay, then the pitot-static heat, so we turn it on now. I'm working now on the yellow or amber. No, turn that on. Oh, that's a, yeah, that's a probes. Eh? Why is this still? Eh? I don't know. Let's see. So generators are on. Oh yeah, hang on. Now we need to provide also the air from both. Then I guess we have to turn on. And that's something that I had on my first flight. I'm suspecting that the auto mode might not work properly because, as I say, autopilot and steering didn't work. In my successful flight, I put them all to on. Well, I guess we should have turned on the beacon. Oh yeah, we did. We did a cold and dark in between. I forgot. No problem. Yeah, this one has to be put on arm again. The lighting at night is quite okay. So now nose wheel steering off. That was before start, parking brake off. Yeah, yeah. The checklist is a bit out of context. Now the nose wheel steering I would now turn on because we're going to need it when we taxi to the runway. After start items, anti-ice as required, so we don't require anti-ice measures, but we want to put the windshield into low. And for some reason the wing anti-ice is always on. That's another of these inconsistencies. If you do cold and dark, turn off the anti-ice. I mean, you're not supposed to have it on, but that's something that the cold and dark seems to set, because I keep turning it off. So anti-ice is all off. Here we have no lights, so this is the dark cockpit philosophy. So anything that's not lighted is okay. If there is a light, then it's not necessarily a bad thing, but it indicates something that deviates from the also we still have the external. Yeah, we need to go to here and turn it off. Yeah, now it's off. The APU is also still running. Theoretically we don't need this, so I'm now going to turn off the APU by clicking here again. And then we can see how the, and look, now all the amber things have disappeared. Not 100% sure why they came up. Maybe it takes time for the probes to heat or so. Could be. So we are out of amber and red nodes. By the way, if you click on the displays you get these, so that's a nice one. Although in some cases it's a little bit too high, so some of the headlines getting cut half through. So seatbelts, no smoking, isolation is open, recirculating fans are off. Okay, let's turn them on. Terrain is not available. I'm not even sure if we do have terrain. Probably not, because that would be the first aircraft on that price level that comes with its own terrain simulation, and I don't have any plugins installed for it. So the isolation valve, do we need to close it now? Not that that makes any difference. And the parking brake is on. So looks like we have everything we need. Anti-ice rudder checked. Yeah, so let's do a quick flight controls check and see if all my... There is actually a flight controls page. Let's go there. I definitely have flight controls, at least according to the display. What will we put on there? Is it the cars? No. By the way, this menu stuff also is still a bit weird. I already had that same thing on the CRJ-900 from the start. I haven't understood how I use the menu, and especially how I, for example, reset the fuel use. Just doesn't appear to have worked for me. Let's quickly check the doors page. Yep, everything good. Anti-ice, flight controls, fuel, electric, looking good. Hydraulics, looking good. ECS. I guess we'll leave it on the start page. That looks like the correct page to use. Alright then. We need to arm the thrust reversers. They're here in case we want to abort. And we check the cars, the crew alerting system. Again, there's nothing here. Now we see that the reversers are armed. Going to turn on the taxi light now. Which is, I think, this here. Yeah, it's recognition taxi lights. They're on. And off we go. Ooh. Park brake off. And just give it a wee nudge, and then the aircraft will start moving on its own. By the way, I turned down the sound. I have a little Lua script that does that for me. So when it's too loud. And you can really see abysmal performance. Lamina, what have you done? Why did you give me this update? I shouldn't have installed it. Beta 4 was really good. I was so surprised, and yes, now I see why a lot of people say it's promising. And why did you have to throw this update in, which makes things worse now? I don't know. I don't understand them. I could in parts also be the aircraft, but as I say on my flight that I did, the one without sound, I had good performance. Like I was way over 30 in the 40s partially. So nice and comfortable. Let's stop here for a moment. Okay, now landing lights on, strobe on, and I think we're okay. As I say, no light is good light. Flaps, yeah, good question. I'll bring it into the first position. I can't tell you. I need to check if they have some recommendations, some tables or so. So flaps, yep, there we have the lights on. We can now put the transponder into mode Charlie, also for VATSIM. And now the way this is supposed to work, and let me quickly check the reversers. Yep, they do work. The way that is normally, at least in my understanding, is you press the toga button. I think that's this here, which brings the autopilot into toga mode. Then, so I would have expected if I press on the FD button that the flight director comes on, but it's not the case. They have done, again, they have kind of used the X-plane autopilot and then kind of made it look a bit more like probably the CRJ. But yeah, anyway, when you press on the FD button, nothing happens. There's also no lights here, so it's obviously not supposed to do anything. I don't know. Then the autopilot engaged. You will see when it is engaged. And well, I would normally now select a lateral mode, and actually we need to check the heading. To bring it into the click spots is difficult. So let's bring the heading to 072. So I have initial guidance. Then when you look at here, it's FMS1. That means as soon as we activate the nav mode, it will track the FMC, flight management computer, flight management system, whatever it's called here. Let's line up. Now, you don't hear that much of the engines in this aircraft, but that's not a surprise because the engines are right in the back of the aircraft. That means for the pilots, there won't be that much to be heard. Yeah, the anti-aliasing thing is still there, unfortunately. Use a bit more power. You see, and it fluctuates. Suddenly we have these phases where it gets really slow, and then it jumps back to like 26, 27. Yeah. Lamina really tests my patience. I really like the simulator, but this is... It's things like that that really annoy me. I shouldn't have done the beta. I'm beating myself up now for doing this and then installing that last update. But I was so surprised about beta 4 that I thought I can't get worse. Yeah. Anyway, okay, so now I am pressing the toga button here, and the first time I did this it showed up TO, but I didn't have heading mode activated. So it's pitch mode, toga mode, and then, and for that I'm stepping on the brakes now, you bring, there are D10s in the real aircraft. Here the D10s aren't really modeled in a way, so I bring it into the toga position. And I'm now going to bring out that window for myself. Uh-oh. See this? That's introduced since the last update. This behavior. It didn't do that before. Any window, not only this aircraft. Okay, now off we go. Oh, oh, hang on. The steering tiller was not centered. So, B1, hands off. Whoa. Oh, okay. And a very extremely nervous flight director. It's really difficult to follow it, especially when you come from something like a Tolis Airbus. There we go, flaps up, gear up. And now we're doing speed and nav and autopilot on. So what it's supposed to do now is keep the current speed. And I think we need to change the mode. Oh, yeah. And we need to also see if we are on the correct leg, because I have some interesting effects here, and I already have that again. Or, well, theoretically, we are past 1700, so I'm going to activate uptime now. And then comes this present position thing. I had this basically. Yeah, it put down the nose, the speed mode, and so the speed mode actually just turned itself off, which is not good. Oh no, come on, let's take, where's vertical speed mode here? There it is. Oh no, what the heck? And I can't even see what vertical speed I'm dialing in. yeah, so speed mode is for the bin. It's the second time that it did not hold my speed. I went into overspeed also on my first flight. Strangely enough, on the third flight, on the video, the last video, it was actually okay. It didn't do that, but it did it on the initial flight, so it didn't hold the speed properly. Again, I guess I am doing something wrong, I hope. But if so, then difficult for me to know what. Let's put the speed on 250 and keep it there. So we're not climbing anymore. Why are we not climbing anymore? Ah, come on. Unfortunately, you can't see the vertical speed you're dialing. You can only see the result. Are we still in VS mode? Yes. So we are in FMS1. Here it is. I found it. Oh yeah, I see. It's in the PFD. Oh, that. What? Again, click spots. Why is it jumping so much? And see here, this is not well done. No, I'm still, yeah. I'm now on 800. Why am I on 800? I clicked once. It jumps in 200 to 300 feet. Why is it doing that? I guess it was good that the last video didn't work, because somehow the flight was relatively uneventful, unlike the first two. But now I can see is that was obviously just a lucky day, because I'm already suffering. Now again, it could be that I'm making mistakes, but why are we not? Hello? Oh yeah, I had that. Okay, so that's more or less it. We're now more or less, that's it. The autopilot will not turn on whatever you do. We are now out of autopilot. I had this actually on my first two flights, and then things went really, really bad. Because the aircraft eventually got out of control, and yeah, and I have no idea why it suddenly decided to jump out of the autopilot. Yeah, and this is now what happens. It goes up and down like a yo-yo. Especially the elevator control. You can try and trim, well, it won't make much difference. We could already see that, now speed mode works again, but now we can't turn on the autopilot anymore. Let's do the flight director. Yeah, it's that's it. I am glad that I had to do this video again, because I would have told you that the aircraft is actually not bad, and I'm glad that it works, but forcing me to do it again revealed that that was a fluke. The normal is this. So there's still some way to go, and to be honest, it's exactly the kind of thing that I don't have the nerves anymore for, because it waste so much of my time and money, by the way. Yeah, okay, these strange effects are probably explained in the anti-aliasing. So I have no idea what I'm supposed to do now. Is there anything I can do to make it work again? Yeah, I have no clue. But the way it is now is not good. And you need to really watch out for your speed. So that's distracted me again. What I find really funny is that we are bang on in the middle with the flight director, although also possible. Yeah. We can't be bang on in the middle because, so in other words, the flight director has also stopped working. And now it's now it's completely gone. Ah, now I can get the autopilot back. Ah, fuck off. I was oh, there it is again. I'm not touching anything, right? I let the aircraft fly at the moment. We are on altitude hold, which doesn't really hold anything. So let's now try and get back to something like 250. Well, now I guess now that we have the autopilot back, I will try and finish the flight. But I'm glad that we actually got this now, because I thought just that I did something completely wrong, but that's exactly the problem with this add-on. Everything looks okay. We've even been able to take off and do the initial climb, and then suddenly the speed mode turns off without any signal, and the autopilot disconnects and you can't connect it again, and there's no indication of what is wrong. Oh yeah, and I'm too high on the thrust, so let's reduce the thrust again. Again, there's no auto throttle. You need to really watch out for the speed. So the speed mode, my understanding is it's like level change or IAS mode. It should have kept the speed that we triggered it on by putting the nose up and down with the takeoff settings, and then I could have reduced the thrust a little bit, but well, I just simply didn't, so it should have really climbed, but somewhere in between the climb it just turned it off, and then it just blew through the altitude, the dialed altitude of 14,000 feet, and it was 300 feet per minute, 300 knots. Yeah. Then this here is also. This is really bad, you know. Look, I mean, even at the top of the flippin' wheel, you still have the arrow down. Yeah, and depending on what your view is, here is the up, and so they've done something wrong with the. What the heck is this? You know it. Oh. Oh no, you did you? Left and right. Okay, fair enough. Yeah, I know a ton of aircraft who do it exactly like this. None. This is the first time I see this. Normally you just place this, you know, it's counterintuitive if you do it like this. Not sure if I'm going to publish this video, but then again, one of my missions is, if you can call it that, that I want to make people aware of things like this. And again, I'm not exactly saying it's a bad add-on. It's just not finished. Yeah. I mean, what do I expect from an add-on, especially one that I pay 50 euros for? I expect that the autopilot is working flawlessly. Yeah, you don't get crap like this. You don't get out of control aircraft right after takeoff. For an add-on that is at least on that level, it has to be either completely standard and then it would work, or yeah, or it's not. And the thing is, when all that happened, I was on 12.05, so it's not the beta. You can't blame the X-Plane beta for this. I had most of the trouble still on 12.05, which is a release of X-Plane, not a beta. So in my view, apart from the bad performance, that's probably due to the simulator, because I've seen it perform better, this aircraft. This is just, yeah, unexpected behavior. Now, I think we need to already start going down. I'm talking too much. Let's bring down the altitude to 5,000, and yeah, I don't dare using the speed mode, but anyway, my masochistic tendencies make me to do it anyway. So I'm taking back . And I mean, it's hard to read anything here. Oh, we are a little bit late, so I think we need to. We're late with the descent, yeah. Things like that throw me off so much. So I'm descending with idle on speed. Let's see. We're getting 2,200 feet per minute. So currently it's doing what it's supposed to do, and that is put the nose down or up in order to keep the pre-selected speed, which by the way has moved again. I did put in 250, didn't I? Or maybe I'm wrong. Oh, that's heading, hang on. Speed. What the heck? Why is it jumping so much? can't believe that. What this? You're not jumping in tens of knots. What the heck? I didn't realize actually the last time. No, I don't want that. And I'm using a flippin' built-in method now. Not using any hardware. Oh god, I have to start my Mobi flight and hope that the hardware will fix it. Yeah, so click spots is... They are the ones from hell here. So let's see, can I... Yeah, at least I can jump in less. It's only 5 knots jumps I can do. Yep, I think we might not make it. Looks like we're not able to make it. 13 miles. We're still above. So I'm going to do a 360 here. Just to give me the time. And now look at the FMC. That gives you an indication that something isn't right here, because it's although no, I'm wrong. Actually I have to look in the video again. I thought that I saw still the first page that we had, as if it wasn't updated. I'm not saying anything. I'll check on my video if I had a Fata Morgana here. So we can now reduce the descent speed. Yeah, and since the update, the shutters are crap again. Explain. You need a lot of patience. I'm not sure how long I will continue to suffer. I can see the potential and it's really going in the right direction, but for me the visual things, they make the experience, and at the moment the experience is really bad for me in X-Plane. Yeah, I find myself in X-Plane 11 when I do other tests. I've started doing videos again in X-Plane 11 because I just can't be bothered with all the flicker and the, you know, I don't know. So let's activate direct to Magat again and put this on nav. We have stopped this. Why have we stopped? And we are, why are we on 280? When did the speed go up? What the heck? When did that happen? I'm pretty sure I didn't change the speed. I had it on 250. think we're okay. I don't know. Either I'm really out of concentration today, or stupid or something, but this aircraft is doing things that I'm not expecting. I mean, the speed is a different thing, I know. Hang on. Did that speed increase again? Yes, it did. It keeps bringing it up. What the heck? Why is it doing that? Oh yeah, and speed mode kicked out, okay. Although we still are supposed to descend. Are we on 5? Oh, we are on 5,000, okay. Hard to read. And now I'm activating the approach mode, if I can read it. I'm activating the approach mode. Why are we not 109.5? Why can I not activate the... Oh, yeah. The FMS source. Let's pause the aircraft. I need to switch the FMS mode. Where is it? Source, nav source. Localizer. And now the approach mode. And oh, just about. But I see no indication that it... Should there not be something here? Why are we still... Oh yeah, we're on localizer 1. What about the glide slope? Yeah. Crap. Autopilot off. So we need to get under the glide slope, see if I can reactivate it. $2,500. Now an idle thrust with speed brakes out in order to get the speed down. This is not... Don't do this at home, kids. Yeah, yeah.
Full up. Full up. Full up.
Okay, here we go.
Full up.
Now let's see if we can reactivate and it flying the approach. Glide slope. Now it says glide slope. Okay. Performance is dropping. $1,000. Somehow I can't see the flaps indicator. Ah, now it shows it. Oh no, I looked in the wrong display. Aha, there it is. We're far too fast, far too fast. Okay.
500.
And we're not really... Are we shifted?
400.
So there's no auto land?
300.
Autopilot off.
200. 100. 50. 40. 30. 20. 10.
No matter how much I pulled back on the elevator, that nose just dropped like mad. Reverse. There's no auto brake. Oh, and the brake is... Oh, we almost skidded away here. I need to be gentle on the brakes. Let's use this high speed. Okay, that's enough. I guess another couple of months and we might see a more stable, more reliable aircraft. It may also have to do with X-Plane and the developments. I'm not sure how old this version is. It's already, I think, a couple of weeks or months old because I hadn't had time to update it. So it could be that recent developments in X-Plane also cause issues. Yeah, I leave the benefit of the doubt for the developers, but quite honestly, this is not the kind of stable, reliable yet add-on that you want to use for VATSIM flying and for things like World Flight or whatever. No, definitely not. Yeah. Okay, I guess we'll cut it short. That video got quite long. Yeah, it was a rocky ride, this one. Until next time.